What's up, guys? Welcome to Josh the Toy Doctor. My name, of course, is Josh, and today we are going to be unboxing another Hot Toys figure. This time we are going to be taking a look at TMS007, the Mandalorian. And guys, bear with me a little bit in this one. This is actually a reshoot. I accidentally recorded without inserting a memory card into my overhead camera, and so I have to go back and redo all of this. So some of it will be slightly different than how it exactly comes retail packaged. So let's go ahead and throw him over on the turntable, talk about the product on the turntable, and then get him back over here, get him unboxed, and take a look at everything. I ordered this months and months and months ago. This is actually my first Hot Toys figure ever that I pre-ordered, and I am super pumped that he's finally here. Alright guys, so now that he is back from the turntable and we have the box sitting here in front of us, the one thing I always forget to mention on the turntable on these Star Wars ones is how much I like the slip art on this spot here, that it is a separate piece from the box. It doesn't really move around, but it is not a direct piece of the box. It's a raised thing. It gives it some texture, it gives it some added color from just the two-tone black, and with the Star Wars logo that these boxes used to be on some of the older figures, and you'll see that in my unboxing of Han Solo and Stormtrooper gear later on down the road. I actually did that video first, but I'm releasing this one earlier because I haven't gotten to editing it, and this is more of a recent release, so it's more timely to get it out ahead of that. So anyways, there's a little preview of something coming in the next few weeks, and you'll probably already actually see him somewhere back behind me. But let's take a look at this guy and all of his greatness. So we're going to go ahead and slap the box open here real quick. There's no security seals on this that we had to break the first time until we got inside. And then they are a little bit down the road. Now this is awesome. I do like this picture here. It does appear to be an actual picture of the figure due to the materials that are used, as well as having the little pin spot here where his rifle sling slots into, that I don't think does that in the TV show. I think it's probably magnetic or something, but I'd have to go back and rewatch in a lot closer detail. But I do like this. It's a great picture of the figure, and it's just a nice piece of art that really represents this figure and the series well. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. We're going to take a look at what's in with the figure. So this is where we would actually have some security seals and where you would want to look for your figure to be sealed if it were brand new. There's going to be two pieces of circular security tape here that affix this to the outer package. I broke those seals. We're going to go ahead and set the hands, the thermal detonator, and the tracking fob aside. We'll pull out his tray to take a look at Mando and all of his glory, and there's nothing on the inside of the back or the front cover, so we'll just set that off to the side and get going. So inside you have your manual, and as always, the manual does cover posing information, what hands to use for stuff, that in this case the outfit is not detachable, and that his holster is not magnetic, it's a slip fit, and that his rear rifle sling parts are magnetic, where the thermal detonator and the tracking fob can go in, and how to swap some of the accessories, and we'll talk a little bit about that in this video directly. So we're going to get that out of the way into those boxes, and we're going to start peeling back the layers and taking a look at the glory that is Mando. Now also on a new figure you would have some plastic pieces on the hands, the legs, and one over the chest typically to protect it. I've already removed those and didn't want to go through the trouble of replacing everything to reshoot this, as it's late at night and I already shot this once. So we'll set all of his accessories outside of the box here really quick and take a closer look at him, because he's got some awesome accessories and a couple of so-so accessories. So let's get everything out here on the table. And the pikes I just put out will also have these little foam pieces on, but I didn't feel it necessary to put them back on for the purpose of the reshoot. And we'll just dump the last three accessories out here onto the table and get all of the box out of the way so we can zoom through this before my camera battery dies. So everything in order, we're gonna start and we're gonna work our way from bottom to top. So we have a sand-based stand, very similar to Luke Skywalker and a few of the other figures that have come out. I do not like these. The boot pattern or foot pattern doesn't fit all of the figures, and it feels kind of goofy, especially if you're posing in something that he's not stepped here yet. That doesn't look right, and I don't like it. The thing about the base I do like, though, is it's compact. It doesn't take up a huge amount of space like some of the larger home base or diamond-shaped ones. And we have a higher quality tag on this. We do have a metal tag there that does say Star Wars The Mandalorian on it, and that looks super nice. I like when they do the metal tags. It just adds a little bit more pop to the stand. Also included for the stand are 2 pikes, and the pikes, the thing I will warn you, the paint does scrape on the insertion pins down here as you insert it into the base. It doesn't show which one goes where, but I feel like more appropriately the close one to him should be the small one, and the tall one should be farther away. Either spot will work, and it will fit either one, and it just pegs straight into there and then gives you that look. You can interchange those. The weathering pattern on those actually isn't too bad. It isn't super great either, but I do like, and on the part that I do like is closer to the tips. It is a little bit more weathered and does look a little bit nicer, and there is some weathering signs around the edges, but I do feel like it could use a little bit more to show that it's really been out there on the planet for a while. You also have this great Stormtrooper helmet, and the coloring, the weathering, everything on this is great. The only thing I don't like is the scarf, whatever this is. It doesn't have a wire, so it really can't be posed dynamically, and I'm not sure what point it serves. So I don't know why that would be there. Maybe it's a screen accuracy thing, but the weathering on the helmet looks really good. And the crack, the crack is actually molded in, not just painted or a decal. The blood again is painted on, so it looks really good. I really like this piece, and I think it will display well with him. So I'm really excited that they included this. And there is actually a hole right there in the top that slots onto one of the pikes. Just aim it up and through and slot it down onto the pike. I think that looks pretty cool, so I am probably going to display that in the background. But his stand is not a dynamic flight pole. We just have a basic crotch grabber. We'll get that inserted, and there is his stand with everything stand-wise on it. And you'll see a better look at it when we throw it on the turntable at the end of the video, but it does look pretty good. So let's get that out of the way and start taking a look at some of his accessories. So we'll start with his rifle and some of the more boring, we'll start with some of the more uninteresting accessories. So you do get standard 6 scale wrist joints, as well as a couple of the little finishing buttons that if you break a button or one of the things off of here, you can reattach. So those aren't very interesting. Let's toss those off to the side. We'll start with the topmost accessory here and work our way down and into the package. So starting at the top, we've got hands. We have 3 sets of hands for this figure. We have gripping with trigger fingers, we have fist, and we have the relaxed semi-open hands that are on the figure, and we'll show those in a second. With the hands though, and these are kind of hard to get out, so I'm going to hold these in and tip these out. You have got the tracking fob and the thermal detonator. These are really tiny pieces. They're pretty cool looking. The thermal detonator looks nice. There's not a lot of weathering, but the paint apps are pretty good. It does look like it's metal and a light up piece. And then the tracking fob does look like the tracking fob. So I feel like both of those pieces are pretty good, and they slot nicely in, but they are absolutely tiny. So those are ones we have to kind of be careful getting in and out of the package. Now, where this starts to disappoint me, and my first disappointment with the figure, is now these paint apps on the hands are for the most part pretty good. You can see really nice paint app here on the armor side of the hand. But when you look at the hands themselves, I think they're gloved, but they just look like kind of generic blobby fingers and don't have a great look. So the paint app on the top here is really good, but the paint app as you get into the finger detail isn't so good. Is this gonna be a make or break? No, I don't think the hands make or break this figure at all. I think there's too much other good stuff about this figure. And then on the figure you have the semi-open or kind of holding hand. The hands to hold some of the smaller accessories. So we don't have fully open and we don't have any special gesturing hands. I kind of hope they include those maybe with the Beskar variant, that we get some more hands to be able to get some more posability. But those are so far what we get in the non-Beskar Mandalorian. We'll set those off to the side. Take a look at his blaster pistol. Now, the weathering on this is not super great. It looks good. The paint app is nice, but it doesn't look super weathered, and the pistol grip could have used some texturing or even potentially actually been made of a small piece of wood to really show off the detail on that, and that would have taken it to like superb level versus just pretty good level. And then that can go into this holster, so we'll set that there. This piece we'll wait till we talk about the figure a little bit more in depth, but this is an alternate shoulder pauldron that you can actually swap for the Beskar one here, and that's just done through Velcro. All of the armor pieces, for the most part, are affixed using Velcro. So I do like that. That's really cool. You can take them on or off to kind of give your figure a little bit of a different look. Now, on to his last two accessories. You've got his rifle and some blast effects. I actually really like the blast effect. I think this is a cool thing. Some other figures, it feels cheap, but this one, it actually feels pretty neat. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna dump those out, and we're gonna take a look. Now, I have some good and some bad about his rifle. I love how the rifle looks. The size of it's good. The paint app is pretty good, but in some of the pictures I've seen on the barrel end, the paint app on my actual piece doesn't look as impressive, which is unfortunate. So let's talk about the good first. So the good things, this thing is big and it looks excellent. It goes very, very well with the figure, and I like it quite a bit. The weathering on it has some nice detail, but where that starts to end is down here. And on this end, on the barrel end, there was supposed to be more bluing than it appears on the piece that I received. And I'm not gonna send it back or anything over this, but I felt like the bluing and the coloration on the barrel was much better on some of the images and some other videos that I've actually watched of this figure being unboxed. The next piece that I dislike is the sling. I wish they would have done just a full regular sling or a magnetic sling instead of this silly little pin. And it's hard to show here on camera, but you can see right there is just a teeny tiny little pin. And that is all that connects it to his armor, and I see that being as a very breakable point. I also wish instead of here just being permanently affixed, the sling would have been clipped on, and that you could have removed that. That would have made that a lot nicer. The piece overall is pretty cool, but what I really like is when we add the blast effect. The taser blast effect looks really slick on this, and it attaches kind of a specific way, which the manual shows, but it's got some little tiny circle points on here that you can kind of use to hold it on, and then you just slide it on, and that's what it looks like on the end of the rifle. And I think it looks super cool. I really like the blast effect, and if I have him with this, or I get a Jawa, I may have him blasting a Jawa or a trooper with the taser end of this, because that looks pretty sweet. So overall, I do like the fit and finish. The few pieces that could have been improved is it could have been a brake breech so that you can actually do a more accurate reloading pose for this. And the pin could have been better, as well as potentially a wood stock. That would have been just awesome. Would have taken this piece from pretty good to superb again. So we'll set that to the side, and now we will take a look at the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mando. All right, so let's talk about the figure himself and his posability. And what's good and what's bad about the figure. Let's start by taking a look at his posability. And so as we start to look at his feet, we have the split cut boot on both. Now the boot is hard plastic both top and bottom, so there is some limit to the range of mobility, but it is better than not having a split cut boot design. As we move up, we'll take a look at the knee joint, and the leg does twist to allow some mobility there. We also appear to have a double bend in the knee, so he can get to an almost kicking his own butt position. It is a little bit limited, and what they don't mention, and I have seen mentioned in some videos and not in others, is that there is a fat suit underneath. If you feel him very carefully, you can actually feel it underneath the cloth of his normal suit. So I think that also limits our mobility a bit. Now, as far as leg back and forward movement, backward, we actually have pretty good movement. We can get a probably running pose out of him, but not a ton more backward movement. Forward movement, we can get a running pose, maybe a little bit of a kick, but nothing too drastic, just because of the height we can get out of going to the front. And that's largely because he starts to kind of bump into himself up at the hip joint. I don't think we can displace his hip down at all. Nope. Up at the hip joint. So, and again, that's a lot of binding because of the cloth, and I think because of the fat suit there, and a little bit maybe because of the armor plate, but the armor plate here does flex. Now, inward and outward, we are able to get a little bit more than 45 out away from him and get some more dynamic poses because we do have some upper hip twist. So that's really nice. And then we can bring his leg back in and down and pose him. So both legs get about the same amount of mobility, inward and outward. And if you do want, you can actually take off the thigh armor as well. Both of those are Velcroed on and can easily be taken on and off to add or change the look of the figure ever so slightly. We'll go upward and we get a little bit of torso twist, not a whole lot again. He's got quite a few layers. He's got the armor support layer. You've got the lighter brown shirt under that, and there's also the fat suit. So we lose some of that torso twist ability. There is a little bit of it, but not a lot. Ab crunch, we don't have a lot again because of the bottom of the armor here. I think that's where we're going to lose a lot of that mobility. You can kind of move it out of the way and get a little bit of ab crunch, but not an incredible amount. He does lean side to side a little bit at the waist and the abs, so you can kind of give a little tilt to him, but not a lot of mobility there. Upward, and this is not entirely limited by the shoulder pads. It's you're putting a lot of stretch on the material under the armpit. He really can't get up to a T-pose. He can kind of get up to about a 45, maybe a little bit more before you start to see some stress on there, and I wouldn't put him that way long term because you will probably put stress on that stitching and potentially rip that. So can't get too crazy with the poses. Backward arm movement, so we can get a reach back, say if he's maybe trying to get his rifle, isn't great. The forward and backward movement on this isn't that great, and I think again that's largely probably due to as many layers as he's wearing. As you feel the figure, you can actually feel he's wearing more layers than just what we see, which I think is a fat suit underneath, unfortunately, or a bulking suit, whatever you want to call it. So you lose some of the mobility to have him, say, reaching back and grabbing the rifle or something like that off of his back super well. But you might be able to have him grabbing the thermal detonator with a little bit of massaging. He's also got a butterfly joint in the shoulder and some bicep twist, so you can get a little bit interesting with it, but you can't get too funky due to that upward movement and again the limited shoulder mobility. Now, as we get up to the elbows, we are double jointed in the elbows. We can't get fully back on itself because of the thickness of the materials there. So again, we're limited by the bulking suit that's underneath him, unfortunately. At the wrists, we have standard 6 scale wrists, so you can kind of get them going in just about any direction you like as long as you're willing to adjust that wrist pin. Both elbows are really the same. Due to the thickness of the cloth, it's really not a thing with the gauntlets. I think they contribute a little bit to it, but they definitely are not the sole cause of the lack of mobility. Okay. Now, as we get up to the head, this is where I like the mobility. The head's got a lot of really great mobility. So first of all, you can get a nice upward look on him, get a nice downward look on him, and there's a lot of joints, so you can really move him quite a bit. He's got lots of really great mobility, so you can really get some good poses out of his head and neck. So that's where the best posing comes in, I think, is the mobility in the head and neck. The paint apps on the helmet, on the armor, and everything on him are really good. There's a lot of really great detail. I like the details here on the leg armor. You've got dents, you've got battle damage. Same with his chest armor. His helmet, not so much, but there is some weathering around some of the raised spots and spots where you may expect stuff to collect as he's walking and living in this helmet. And the cloth is all really nice. I don't like the bulking suit. I really don't. Without the bulking suit, I feel like we could get some way cooler dynamic poses out of this guy. The cape is awesome, minus one thing. So I like the wear and tear. Like, you can see that the cape has been used and abused, and it looks really good. However, where it starts to not shine so nicely is it doesn't have a wire. It would be really nice if this cloak had a wire. You could get some really great dynamic poses with him with that. And so I may see if I can find a custom cape for him, or maybe somebody willing to modify him to accept a wire. I do think I'm going to get a second one of these at some point, because I do want to do some modifications. I kind of want to take him down and see if we can body modify him, either using a Fison body or using his stock body and just removing the fat suit. I'd really like to see what we can do with this guy, and I think we can make him look even cooler. But the cape is nicely weathered and shows off really well. Onto his back, we have a magnetic clip here that will help hold his rifle into place, and it just separates via magnets, and then you can put his rifle in there to hold it better to his back as it's slung. You've got cartridges here. You can actually remove these cartridges to do dynamic reloads. The thermal detonators here on his waist do not come out. However, we can take the extra thermal detonator here and slot it nicely in to that third spot. And so we do have one removable thermal detonator. And then the tracking fob can also be slotted in over into his belt here using the antenna end, and it just sits in his belt right there. That's where the imagery shows it. And then you just have a little slip piece here for his pistol. I don't like that that's not magnetic. I actually, on Boba Fett, on the Mythos Boba Fett from Sideshow, this is magnetic, and I think that holds a lot better for holding his pistol. We'll go ahead and slide his pistol into the holster. This is one of the few pieces on him that is actually a leather-ish material, or a faux leather material. So you do have to watch it a little bit on that and the weathering. I don't like that it doesn't fit fully down in there. Like, I feel like it should stretch a little bit more and allow it to get down and in there a little bit better, because as is, it does not fit super well into his holster. I honestly don't suspect mine will spend a lot of time in his holster, but it is one of those things that does feel like it could have been worked a little bit better. And honestly, on some of these holsters, I'm actually tempted to get leather and rework and make some of my own custom pieces. But we can just go ahead and strap his pistol down for now, unwrap his cape, and then again, just like with these armor pieces, the shoulder armor that we talked about that was in the package just removes, has Velcro on it, and then you can just put on his older piece of armor if you want the pre-Beskar shoulder pauldron. It's pretty cool. The paint app on that piece is really good. It's got some nice weathering on it, and it affixes nicely with that magnet. So I think from here, guys, we're gonna go ahead and throw this guy on the turntable, let you guys get a look at some cool poses with him, see what we can do with the figure for awesome poses, and just enjoy him. Overall, I do think it's a really great figure, and honestly, if you're a fan of Star Wars, and especially, and at all, the Mandalorian, this guy's an absolute must, unless you're gonna look just toward the Beskar. But I personally am gonna be ordering most of the Mandalorian figures, and really looking forward to seeing some of the other figures that are coming out in the Mandalorian line, because if this guy is any indication of what's coming, there's going to be a lot of amazing figures. Alright guys, that is it for this video. We took a look at the Mandalorian, and he is awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it that good old thumbs up, and I would greatly appreciate it, especially since I had to do a reshoot on this guy to get it out right. having not turned my camera on. It does help me out very much with the YouTube algorithm. It gets more eyes on this video, gets it seen by more people, and does help me grow this channel and continue to produce awesome content for you guys. If you're not already, hit the subscribe button. There's no reason not to. It doesn't cost you anything, and that way you get to be... And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button up in the top corner there and the notification bell. That way you can get an update every time I drop a new video here on Josh the Toy Doctor. Guys, thank you again for watching. And guys, always remember, stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe, and enjoy your collection. Peace out.